Hello and welcome back. It's Labor Day. We made a road trip, about a little over an hour drive, to go to a farm produce store. And last year they had a pretty good selection. They had nice produce and I was so excited. I wanted to go so badly. And one of the things I really wanted to get was okra. I'm growing okra this year, but I planted a lot. Maybe a third of it came up. And so far, I'm getting some, but it's just getting started and it's kind of disappointing because I really wanted to put up a lot of okra. So far, I have enough okra for one dish, and so we're making that tonight. And I've made a video about this, kind of the same recipe, but I've changed it and doing some things differently that I think are really gonna make it taste good. And what this is, my family always called it Okra Gumbo, and it was the first thing I learned to cook. I was 4 years old when my grandmother had me in the kitchen helping her make this. So this is a near and dear recipe to my heart. I love okra. Some people might call it an okra stew, I don't know, but we always just called it gumbo. It's not the traditional roux gumbo. I made that and I think I have a video somewhere on that. I'd have to go look. But it is, okra has kind of, people call it slimy substance, but it causes things to thicken. And this is tomatoes and okra, onions, seasonings, and I'm gonna add chicken to it today. Chicken thighs specifically, because we're still on the keto diet, so I'm still trying to cook within those guidelines for Brian, but we are still gonna have our okra. I might not be able to do the fried okra with cornmeal because that's not on it. I'll have to do some when he's not around. But I can do this, and I'm just gonna add a little bit things to it to give it a little more interest and a little more flavor. But I think it's gonna be good. So come on and let's see what I do with my little bit of okra. So this little bit right here is what I've already cut up, and this is the rest of what I have. And I'm gonna use all of this because this will probably be enough for 2 meals for the 2 of us. And that's okay because we love it that much. And I've got 2 different kinds of okra growing, and this is emerald okra, and it's more smooth. It doesn't have as many ribs going up and down, and thinner. And then I've got the Clemson spineless, and you can see it's really ribbed, a little bit coarser, a little bit rougher texture, but I wanted to try the emerald and see how it would grow because I've had challenges getting this to grow. So I do not let these get big, ever. The only okra I ever find in the grocery stores, if they have it, is about that long and tough, and I won't even buy it. And it's usually about $5 a pound, so it's just not something I'm gonna do. So I wait until I can have my little bit of okra every year. And all I do is slice it into kind of small pieces. I don't want big ones, partly because these will cook quickly. If you leave them whole or bigger slices, it takes a little bit longer to cook, I believe. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get this sliced up. I've already sliced up a leek that I have that I need to get used. That was gifted from a neighbor. I've chopped up a small onion, and I think I'm gonna try adding some jalapenos. These are from my garden. I Normally would not put those in there. But again, we're doing things differently and we're adding flavor because we can't serve this with rice, which is how I would traditionally serve this. So instead, we may just eat it as a stew. I have some cauliflower rice. We'll see. I don't know if I want to use that or not. But I'm gonna get these sliced up and then we'll come back and start cooking this. So I'll be back in a few minutes. To start, I'm just gonna put some olive oil in the bottom of the pan. And I use a fair amount because I'm gonna cook the chicken first, but then I'm gonna add vegetables that I wanna saute. And I just took 2 chicken thighs and cut them into just bite-sized chunks. And seasoning this is going to be pretty simple at first. I just want to put some salt, and this is Himalayan pink, and some freshly ground black pepper. And I just want to cook this a bit just to give it a little bit of color so it's not completely raw. You could add this raw later on in the process, but I kind of like it to be brown just a bit. And actually growing up, we never put meat in our okra gumbo. We always just ate it, just the stewed okra. But I like to add meat to it, and sometimes I do the chicken thighs, and sometimes I like to do shrimp, and sometimes you can do both. But tonight we're just doing the chicken thighs. Alright, it's mostly browned on the outside, so now I still have oil in the pan, and I'm going to add the onion. So I'm just going to let that onion cook down just a little bit, and I'm going to add the leeks. And I've also minced up about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. The more the better. And I've got this heat lowered down now, and I just want this to kind of cook together a little bit. You definitely don't want to burn your garlic. Now I'm going to try out this nifty new can opener that I got. I wanted to try this. First of all, it's battery operated, so we're not using any electricity, which that's important to me, but also because I'm starting to have issues with one of the joints in my hand, and my mother cannot open cans. She's just really having trouble. So we're going to see how this works. It takes 4 AA batteries. All right, you set it on the can like this is how the illustration shows. Let's see how it works. Trying to rock up on me a bit, but as long as I hold my finger on there, it's staying on there pretty well. So let's see how it did. It took it off. There's no sharp edges, which is another plus because my mom takes blood thinners. So that worked pretty well. I had to kind of hold it down at first, but then it seemed to level out. And there's no sharp blade. to cut yourself again, but it lifted the lid off without a sharp edge. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I think this worked out pretty well for me, and I think I'm gonna order one for my mother in Texas, and hopefully this will be easy for her, because also it's big, it's not, you know, tiny. So I will be sending her one, and I'll put the link for their website down below, and it's the Kitchen Mama Yes You Can opener. Normally I just have a crank one that I use, but as I said, this joint right here is just really giving me fits, and I did something to it when I did all that work outside this year. So sometimes I'm gonna have to use something else, and I can do this. So again, the link is below. There's a discount code for 10% off. And if you have trouble like me, maybe that's something you want to check out. This is already smelling so good, you guys. Now I'm going to add that can of tomatoes, and that's, I don't measure, but this is a 28-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes. And I am going to add at least half a can of water. We'll see how much it takes. We'll start with that. Now to this I'm going to add some of my seasoned salt, and I have a video on that for how you make your own seasoned salt. And we're going to add some more black pepper. I never get enough black pepper in this dish. I love lots of black pepper. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit. And now I'm going to add in my okra. Just stir that in, and I'm going to let this just come up, and I want to simmer this. And I'm going to simmer it until the okra is done. But first I'm going to add one more ingredient. The last ingredient I'm going to add is that small jalapeno from my garden. I'm going to start with one and we'll see how it does, but I've diced it up pretty fine. And I didn't use gloves, so I'm going to be going over and washing my hands very well. And I did take the seeds and membranes out of that, so it hopefully will temper the heat, because Brian likes the really hot. I like just warm. So we're going to see how that goes. I'm going to bring this up to a simmer and then reduce the heat and keep it at a simmer, and then we'll come back and I'll give you an idea of about how long it took. Well, I've had this simmering for about an hour, and you can see that the okra has changed color. It's tender, and that is pretty much done. But I did decide to go ahead and use cauliflower rice that I made. And this I had frozen. But I'm going to add it right into here. Because unlike regular rice, to me it has a little bit of a flavor, and by itself, I don't think I'd care for that. But I'm going to put it in there, and that'll just give a little bit extra to it. And this won't take long, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna let this come back to a simmer and cook, and then we'll come back and we'll have a taste. Well, here it is. This is my type of comfort food. I don't know if you can remember the first thing that you ever cooked, but I do, and this is it. Changed up a little bit, because as you get older, your tastes change a little, but it's still the same thing. So this is my okra gumbo with chicken. So let's have a taste of this. And boy, this bowl is hot. So I'm gonna set it down. And this bite pretty much has everything in it. It's so good. I added more water. I add more seasoned salt and black pepper. I added garlic because you don't have enough garlic. It took about an hour of cooking to get it as tender as I like it. So I hope you give this a try. It's just one of my favorites. And again, it's a comfort food. This to me is back to my childhood. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Be sure and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. Thank you for watching. God bless, and we'll talk soon.